Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Wednesday, November 9th, 2022. And our top story today, autistic individuals are more at risk for sleep problems. Joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Dr. Thomas Jongens is an assistant professor of genetics at the University of Pennsylvania Medical School. Well, Tom, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. And we have covered, as I told you in the green room, we have covered autism before and the research around autism. It's really important to us as a network. And I know you and the team at University of Pennsylvania Medical School have done a lot of research on the link between the genetic link between autism and sleep disorders. But I want to take a step back. My first question to you is, I think I know the answer, but why is sleep such an important concept so that for you to study? Why did you and the team pick sleep as it applies to autism?
Well, yeah, sleep is, and good quality sleep is associated with good health. Sleep problems invariably lead to issues in cognition and behavior. Irritability can be associated with reduced sleep, reduced attention span. Overall metabolic health can be affected by poor sleep. And so you do your best by getting the best sleep you can, you do your body the best. And so it's really important to try and maintain a consistent and healthy sleep profile.
Now, when it comes to autism, do autistic children, autistic adults, do they suffer from insomnia or a lack of sleep more so than the traditional the general population, not traditional?
Yeah, I mean, that's the consensus in the field, and especially certain types of autism have notably more severe sleep problems than other forms of autism. My lab has studied Fragile X syndrome for over 20 years, and one of the major complaints of the parents, one of the first things that comes out of their mouth is that my kid does not sleep properly. And with this disorder and many other disorders of autism, the sleep cycles are broken up. The children have problems sleeping for extended periods of time, and also their time of day the time of day that they have sleep is a real problem. In that, with Fragile X in particular, the individuals might sleep in the middle of the day and wake up at 2 a.m. and think it's early morning time to get up and start the day's activity. So it's both a sleep duration and a time of day sleep problem with that form, as well as other forms of autism.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Finish your
and
thought.
So this is it exacerbates the problems of care of these individuals. The parents, of course, their sleep is impacted, and so it has an overall creates a problem for the whole family dynamic.
Yeah, and that was going to be my question, is that, you told us about how important sleep is. I think we all know if we don't have a good sense of sleep at all, it makes us really hard to function. I can only imagine what it's like for a child or an adult suffering from autism. It totally disrupts their line of thinking and pattern, making it even more challenging to kind of relate to people. What's the genetic link? I know you're a professor of genetics. Let's talk about that genetic link. And I had to say, I'm not a biologist. I'm not a geneticist. I do remember Watson and Crick and the discovery of DNA. That's the extent. But what's the connection between genetics, sleep disorders, and autism?
Well, so many of the genetic causes of autism have been found to lead to animal models. So a lot of our work is done in animal models, where we take a genetic change that is present in an individual with autism. Let's say with Fragile X, there's a gene called FMR1, and the individuals who have Fragile X don't express that gene. So people have made fly and mouse models of Fragile X by taking that gene away out of the fly or out of the mouse, and then examined the behavior of this individual model organism. And in the Fragile X case, we see that the Fragile X flies have no discernible circadian rhythm. So that's one route of identifying a link between autism and sleep problems, and that just going after a gene that's linked to autism, we find that the animal models show sleep defects. Now, another way that has shown a link is this a recent study that was done in McGill, where they took the genomes of individuals that had autism, and then they also looked at the genome. So this is sequence DNA of each individual, of individuals that were the siblings of those who had autism. So a brother or a sister who does not have autism, but yet they're in a family with autism. And then they've also taken and looked at DNA from a random collection of individuals, thousands of individuals. And what this study found was that if they looked at copy number variants, which is what you call a region of DNA that's either duplicated or that's removed from the normal genome, what they found was that there was a dramatic enrichment of genes that were linked to insomnia and linked to circadian genes that regulate our time of day clock, that regulates when we wake up, when we sleep. And so this really is a very powerful study, in that it really says if you identify individuals with problems in the normal circadian regulation or in the ability to fall asleep, as in the case of insomnia, you are enriching for individuals that are likely to have autism.
Well, Tom, I need to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more about the research around sleep disorders and autism. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you stuck with a low credit score? A credit report and score that's causing you to be denied credit or pay higher interest rates than others for the same things? Then do what Terrence did and call Credit Repaired for your free credit evaluation to help restore your credit.
I started thinking about buying a new house, and my score wasn't where I needed it to be. I called and spoke with one of the representatives, and we just had a good conversation, and I liked what he was saying.
Just one call for his free credit evaluation was all it took to start back on the track to repairing his credit.
seeing the deletions and I'm getting the report, so I know something's being done. It does make a difference to me.
All it takes is one call to get started.
Credit repair has given me a second chance to have a better credit score.
Don't let a low credit score hold you back another day. Do what Terrence did and make the call for your free credit evaluation.
Call 800-819-4152. That's 800-819-4152. Again, 800-819-4152.
Welcome back. We're joined this morning by Professor Thomas Jongens of the University of Pennsylvania Medical School. Well, Tom, thanks so much for sticking with us this morning. Really appreciate you hanging around for segment number 2.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed our conversation so far and look forward to continuing it.
Yeah, I'm taking some notes, and I have to, you know, in all fairness, I need to brush up on my genetic understanding, but no, it's been really insightful. I bet you there are a lot of parents out there and a lot of adults who are finding that this research very helpful and impactful. Tom, I want to start this segment out with a question. A lot of parents out there, a lot of adults may say, look, I'm in bed for 8 to 9 hours. I'm getting the sleep that I need. But you mentioned the circadian rhythm. That's an important part of sleep. It's not about the duration, Tom. It's about the actual rest that your brain and your body is getting. Right.
Yeah. So just being in bed is not necessarily an indicator of good sleep. Excuse me. You have to really analyze to see that an individual is getting good sleep. You have to analyze their sleep patterns when they fall asleep and how their sleep progresses from light sleep to deep sleep to REM, which you may have heard of, rapid eye movement. These stages of sleep are all part of the normal sleep process. But if you have, excuse me, short periods of sleep and keep waking up and falling asleep, waking up and falling asleep, even though you may have had an 8-hour period that you were in bed, you may have not entered all the necessary stages of sleep to get full rest recovery. And so it's really important not only to see that an individual has enough time to sleep, but also that the sleep quality is there. And that's tough to do because you don't want to keep walking into the room of an individual and checking on their sleep, because if they're not sleeping deep, they're going to be woken. So one of the more recent approaches that scientists, not myself directly, but my colleagues use, is to get activity monitors. There are some nice watches that can monitor the activity patterns of an individual during the day and then also during the sleep phases. And by monitoring how often your wrist moves, if it's there, or if you have a patch on the back that's monitoring your activity, you get an indication of how continuous the sleep phase is. And that's a good way of looking for the quality of sleep. Now, another way that can be done is to actually look at the electromagnetic pulses of a brain, EEG analysis. And that is something that, you know, very few scientists can do. But it is probably the most thorough way to analyze sleep during the night phase or the sleep period. And that'll tell you how the sleep phases progress and how long an individual has in any given phase of sleep. But that's not a practical thing for parents to think about. But the activity monitors are one way of getting a good approximation of how good the sleep quality is.
Tom, what's the application here? So if I'm a parent or I'm an adult and you know, you're doing the genetic work, you can go to a sleep lab, but how do you change? Is it changing the behavior? So you're getting all this data, you know that there's a genetic link to someone in the family. You're wearing a Fitbit or a wearable device that tracks this. Is it about changing the behavior? For example, don't listen to a tablet at night or a podcast at night, because that's really not sleep. And by the way, I'm guilty of that. What is the practical application of the research that you and the team are doing?
Well, so a lot of the electronic devices are obviously not good for sleep quality, so those have to be removed. but also in getting yourself in an excuse me, in an environment that's quiet and remove all distractions. But one thing that is being used by sleep scientists, sleep clinicians, is time-restricted sleep. So rather than giving yourself, say you have a sleep problem, you say, well, I'm going to try and get the best sleep I can, so I want to spend 10 hours sleeping. That doesn't necessarily translate to high-quality sleep. And this is something that can be investigated with a sleep doctor, is if this works for you, which is the process is called sleep restriction, where you actually reduce the period of time that you allow yourself to sleep. And so the idea is that you build up more of a drive to fall asleep by staying awake longer. And then when you do go to sleep, you actually do get higher quality sleep, maybe for a shorter duration, but in the end, it might be beneficial. And so this is something that's being investigated in the clinic right now as an approach. And this would require you using your time management to get a shorter period, but a higher quality period of sleep. So that's another thing that's being looked at right now.
Last question, Tom. Let's talk about the future of your research, yours and the team's research. I know you've genetically identified a link. Where do you go from here as you're continuing to evolve and to make the connection and ultimately solve a challenging problem? I mean, there are lots of us, myself included, who aren't sleeping, but especially among the autistic. What's the next step in the research?
So a lot of our research is focused on trying to identify the genetic pathways, how genes are interacting with each other in a way that perturbs the normal sleep pattern. So understanding at a basic mechanism how the sleep works, so that's ongoing research, and then how it's perturbed in these animal models that we have of autism is one way of getting ideas of why the sleep is not working. Because we're pretty sure that if we get the model organisms or the individuals to sleep better, the outcome will be better. And so that's one thing that we're doing. And one area of research, I told you at the beginning that poor sleep can impact metabolism. Well, we're starting to get indications that metabolism can impact sleep. And so we're looking at metabolic ways of altering the metabolism of the individuals, or in our case, the animal models that have the autism, that we're looking at ways to modify their metabolism to increase their sleep. And that would be sort of using dietary changes and other medical interventions.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it's important research. I know I could benefit from it. And I have to be very open. I take cat naps with my cats during the day, so that actually helps me.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that there are certainly parents out there and adults who suffer from insomnia, maybe on the spectrum, who will be able to benefit greatly from the research you and the team are doing. Tom, we're going to have to leave it there. Great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you back on the program again very soon.
Okay, thanks, Jeffrey. I enjoyed this quite a bit. Thank you so much.
That wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, someone you think we should talk to? Drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the latest curated news and lifestyle, wellness, finance, tech, so much more, and all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to search our archives, check out our latest content? We'll visit our website and, of course, all of our streaming partners. We're back again tomorrow for another edition of BRN AM. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes. Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the first lifestyle and wellness network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.